This is the Minister's Crucible. I'm Fred Rochester. Thanks for listening. Well, we want to talk about a subject that is perhaps taboo in many circles today, even in this modern era of time that we're living in. Obviously, we're living in the last days, but there's something that needs to be addressed, and we're going to talk about it. It's called pastors, porn, and prostitution. Now, a pastor must be willing to deliberately defy the word of God and the Lord to commit secret sexual sins. A married pastor must be willing to renounce his marriage vows to commit secret sexual sins. When a pastor intentionally proceeds past these two checkpoints into the dark world of secret sexual sins, the reason behind it is they have reached a false sense of security, and it pushes them beyond limits. They're blinded by lust and the pleasures of this life. Usually, pastors are tired of sex with their own wife, tired of fantasy sex, and they're tired of porn and masturbation. And then he desires to experience sexual immorality with a prostitute. He moves from entertaining thoughts from the heart to action to fulfill the desires of the flesh and the mind. With a sense of wicked purpose, he sets out on his quest for the carrot on the stick because he wants to eat the carrot that is on the stick. Now, when it comes to pornography, which is usually the stepping stone into prostitution, we all know that it is fantasy sex. Back in the day when I was involved in pornography myself, caught in the web of pornography, and the Lord was gracious and freed me from this area. I began to go on a quest to understand what I was doing. In the world of porn, when it comes to the production of porn, back then, this is 2009, there were 298 million internet pornography sites. And that's because in the United States leads the world in pornography. Now, with human trafficking and with illegal immigration, we all know that the human trafficking for the sex trade is paramount. For instance, in your sports venues, when certain teams have achieved championship status, and the playoffs and things of that nature, you know that there will be a demand for prostitution. And so that was back then, 298 million internet pornography sites. Today, there are well over 302 million pornography sites. So it is a major increasing problem in the United States. With that said, in the United States, there are basically three venues where the pornography is produced. We all know Los Angeles, California, Las Vegas, Nevada, and New York City. These are the three major cities, among other cities, that produces the vast amount of pornography that men see each and every day. In fact, one statistic said that Sunday is the most watched day of pornography, with the vast majority of the audience being pastors. And so this is a major stronghold, and it is a stronghold that Satan is unwilling to relinquish. And so we have to address this issue because there are some pastors that are looking to be free. Jesus said in the book of John to the man that was at the pool of Bethesda in John chapter 5, do you want to be made whole? And the man gave an excuse or a story about individuals beating him to the pool to get healed. Now, we know that the healing of the physical malady is much different than deliverance from sin. But later on, when the man of the pool of Bethesda saw Jesus again, Jesus warned him. He said to him, "Go and sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you." So sin opened the door for his malady of 38 years. And so, do you want to be made whole, Pastor? Well, the Bible is very clear and gives us very good instructions on how to be free. Now, you have to understand that there is a cycle, a compulsive cycle that men and women are involved in when it comes to sexual immorality or sexual addiction. And this is called Carn's cycle of compulsive sexual addiction. It begins with thoughts and fantasies. Second, ritual. Third, acting out. And fourth, remorse. And then the cycle begins all over again. Now, we have to understand that if we don't guard our hearts and guard our thoughts, it's very easy to yield ourselves into sin. And so we have to guard ourselves, because if we don't, then we'll fall into temptation. In fact, Jesus said it like this in the book of Matthew, chapter 26 and verse 41, "Watch and pray, lest you fall into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." And then you have Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 23, that we are to keep our hearts with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life. Now, when it comes to prostitution, that is usually the next step in fulfilling the sexual fantasy, because you will get tired of porn and masturbation, and then you will entertain thoughts from the devil to cross lines into the area of prostitution. Now, the Bible is very clear about what we are to do in regards to prostitution. In Proverbs chapter 7, and verse 6, Proverbs 7 and verse 6, "For at the window of my house I looked through my lattice, and saw among the simple, I perceived among the youths, a young man devoid of understanding, passing along the street near her corner, and he took the path to her house, in the twilight, in the evening, in the black and dark night. And there a woman met him with the attire of a harlot and a crafty heart. She was loud and rebellious. Her feet would not stay at home. At times she was outside, at times in the open square, lurking at every corner. So she caught him and kissed him. With an impudent face she said to him, I have peace offerings with me. Today I have paid my vows. So I came out to meet you, diligently to seek your face. And I have found you. I have spread my bed with tapestry, colored coverings of Egyptian linen. Can you see the enticement here? I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us take our fill of love until morning. Let us delight ourselves with love, for my husband is not at home. He has gone on a long journey. He has taken a bag of money with him, and will come home on the appointed day. With her enticing speech, she caused him to yield. With her flattering lips, she seduced him. Immediately he went after her, as an ox goes to the slaughter, or as a fool to the correction of the stocks, till an arrow struck his liver. As a bird hastens to the snare, he did not know it would cost his life. Now therefore listen to me, my children. Pay attention to my words, to the words of my mouth. Do not let your heart turn aside to her ways. Do not stray into her paths, for she has cast down many wounded. See the attitude, see the emotion where the man was, in particular pastors, they're wounded from within. And all who were slain by her were strong men. Pastors are supposed to be strong, right? Men are supposed to be strong, right? But yet, with the enticing words of this harlot, this prostitute enticed this man, and next thing you know, like an ox to the slaughter, he enters into her web of death. And all who were slain by her were strong men. Her house is the way to hell, descending to the chambers of death. Do you want to be made free? All you need to do is go back to the Word of God and obey it. Go back to the Word of God and operate in it. Go back to the Word of God and find your first true love, and that is the Lord. You've been listening to the Minister's Crucible. I'm Fred Rochester. Thanks for listening.